Andy, we ready? Brianna? Okay. Happy New Year, everybody. Welcome to the City of Clovis City Council meeting. We'll call it to order for January 5th, 2026 at 6:01 p.m. And leading us in the flag salute will be our Mayor Pro Tem, Diane Pierce. If you can all rise for this flag salute.
Please join me in saluting our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If our city clerk, Brianna Parra, can call the roll.
Yes. Councilmember Ashbeck?
Here.
Councilmember Baskel? Here. Councilmember Bessinger?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Pierce?
Here.
And Mayor Moanatua?
Here. This time we're going to go ahead and start with presentation and proclamations. The first one is a presentation of a proclamation recognizing January as National Mentoring Month, honoring Big Brother, Big Sisters of Central California. And Councilmember Bessinger will be reading our proclamation on this one.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll be presenting a City of Clovis proclamation recognizing January as National Mentoring Month, honoring Big Sisters, Big Brothers of Central California. Whereas January is recognized across the nation as National Mentoring Month, a time to celebrate the power of mentorship and acknowledge the individuals and organizations that make a lasting impact on the lives of young people. And whereas since its founding in 1969, Big Brothers, Big Sisters of Central California has served as a pillar of mentorship and youth empowerment, providing guidance, stability, and the opportunity to children throughout the Central Valley. And whereas over the past 5 decades, Big Brothers, Big Sisters has positively impacted the lives of more than 30,000 children and their families, fostering resilience, leadership, and hope through one-on-one mentoring relationships. And whereas Big Brothers, Big Sisters has successfully implemented the high school BIGS program across 21 unified school districts, serving more than 4,000 children and families throughout the year in Central California. And whereas through dedicated mentors, community partnerships, and innovative program, Big Brothers Big Sisters continues to inspire young people to reach their full potential, strengthening the fabric of our communities. Therefore, be it resolved that the City of Clovis hereby proclaims January 2026 as National Mentoring Month and proudly recognizes Big Brothers Big Sisters of Central California for its unwavering commitment to the children and families of our region and its enduring impact on future generations. And it's signed by our mayor, Bong Moanatua.
Diane, if you, Big Brothers, Big Sisters with Nick, and I already forgot your new staff there. Yeah, did you have something to say? If you can address the council or an entire public, we just want to recognize you guys.
Thank you so much. Oh my goodness, you guys are amazing. Thank you for believing in our community and investing in the children and for supporting Big Brothers Big Sister. So we really appreciate this proclamation. And we're very blessed to serve 4 counties, a lot of kids, and mentoring is so important. So we do need your help. If anybody would like to donate their time to be there for a child, just to let them know that they're special, that there's so much in life, and that it's beyond their circumstances, please reach out to us. We're always looking for volunteers, especially male role models. The need is great, but we have a wonderful community, and I know that we could really better together, us working together could help the kids. So again, thank you very much for this. We really appreciate it.
Anyone in the council like to share anything? Yeah, Diane, I just wanted to say thank you for your work with Nick as well. This last year was the first time I went to their fundraising event, and they shared some youth, how they grew up, and then they became mentors. And then from the funds that they raised, they gave to the Boys and Girls Club, and they presented it here in the city of Clovis. Is it over $300,000, right?
Yeah.
To the Boys and Girls Club. So it's just amazing the work that Diane is doing with Big Brothers and Big Sisters. And so if you can come up, yeah, we'd like to give you the proclamation. And so thank you very much. We'll come in front. We'll come in front, yeah, sorry. I know.
You can step here. We got room.
Hi.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Mixing my lives up. Thank you so much for being here.
We'll get a photo here. Yeah.
No, there you have it. Fine.
Okay.
Thank you all for what
Thank
you
you.
do. Oh, yay.
Okay, all right. 14 more to go. We're the first one.
Oh,
so
wow.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Drew, for presenting that. Okay. Next, if we can have Jennifer Williams, if you can come to the podium there. Well, we have a certificate from the city of Clovis. Jennifer was our appointee to the Consolidated Mosquito Abatement District, and she served from 2021 to 2025. And a lot of these positions, you serve sort of representing the entire city, though you are working for the entire county. We thank you for your service. You know, as we say, a lot of these positions are unpaid. It's truly the love and the service of the volunteers that previous mayors have appointed, and you have served through several mayors, and we appreciate that. And as you are retiring from the Mosquito Abatement Board, we have a certificate for you, and we just wanted to thank you for your service. And if any of the council members like to say anything as well.
I'll just also say thank you. It takes citizen leaders and volunteers willing to say yes. And I think some might think that the mosquito abatement doesn't seem like super exciting, but it is super important. And if we hear one thing in the summer, it's mostly about mosquitoes. So, but for your willingness to say yes, Clovis is a great place because people do say yes. And so thank you for stepping forward. It means a lot. Yeah.
And if you'd like to say anything, Jennifer?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
So thank you very much for this certificate, and mosquitoes are exciting. So when you're a biologist, everything is exciting.
Yeah, that's
But yeah, thank you so much, and thank you for the opportunity to serve my community. And I'm not retiring, I'll be back. I just, some things have to come first. So, but yes, if I can serve in the future in some way, I would gladly do so. So thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. You can come up and get your certificate.
Thank you.
It's our city coin as well, okay? Certificate. Thank you for your service.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
We can take a photo, yeah. Did your daughter want to come in too? Yeah, she's here, yeah.
She's definitely saying, shaking her head, that means no.
Okay, thank you. At this time, we'll move to public comments. If anyone from the public like to address the council on an item that is not on the agenda, you may do so at this time. You will have 3 minutes. I just want to note for the record that we do have 2 comments that is provided to the council. So we have those in email form presented to us. So, go ahead.
Bill Scott, 341 Evergreen. Usually when I'm up here doing this, it's about In God We Trust. And I'm not diminishing anything about that. I still want to see that happen. But I've got something a little special I'd like to do this time. Our country's getting ready to celebrate the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence. But the Declaration of Independence just didn't pop out of nowhere. Where were they last April 19th with the battles of Lexington and Concord? Nobody mentioned that. What about the 250th anniversary of the Battle of Bunker Hill on June 17th? Nobody mentioned anything. And there's been a whole list of things that had happened between then and now. But right now something's coming up that was also very, very important, and I'd like to see if there's any way the city of Clovis might recognize this. This Saturday, January 10th, is the first printing of Thomas Paine's Common Sense. That's important because before that was written, most colonists didn't like what the king was doing, but they didn't want to give up their British citizenship. After the country had read this, there was a push to declare independence. So this is a very, very important document, and nobody's celebrating it. And I kind of realize there's a lot of people that may have never heard of it, and very, very few people have actually read it. So to that end, I've got some copies I've got for you with a few extras that you could spread out to anybody you might see, or throw them in the trash if that's what you want to do. But I'm hoping that the city might possibly do a proclamation to maybe call January Common Sense Month, January 2026. And maybe, again, somebody might take notice that this little town in the middle of the San Joaquin Valley, in the middle of communist California, actually is proud of our American heritage, and make note of that. And also that the schools might hear about this and at least make their children aware that such a thing exists. So whatever you guys want to do, I would love to see something happen and help you work with it or whatever. Is it okay if I give these to the clerk?
Yes.
And to everybody out there, if you don't know what Thomas Paine's Common Sense is, it's very easy to find. You just put it in on your phone and it'll come up. It's 32 pages and it doesn't take long to read it.
Can I make a comment?
Thank you, Bill. Yes.
Mr. Scott, I just had a brilliant idea. I think you should start a Clovis Common Sense book club. And once a month, you should get like-minded folks who want to understand our history to read a part of it, and then you could gather and talk about it. I'm just saying, it would be kind of fun, and people might come and have a reason to read it. Yeah? Is that a bad idea?
No, it's not. I wouldn't know how you would get the word out, but I'd love to see something like that
I think
happen.
I actually think that'd be kind of fun.
I've got a ton of books that I've been reading that.
Including one that I gave you that you haven't read yet. No, I'm just kidding.
I've read some of it.
I'm giving you a bad time. But I think, I do think like, not forcing people, but giving people a reason to read it, which is why people have book clubs, that and probably drinking and eating that go along with that. But I don't know, it might be fun to there's people that want to learn about this.
Well, do people come to book clubs or do they want tablet clubs?
No, they want book clubs and wine. I'm just kidding. Thank you for providing
Thank
that
you.
for us.
Talk about it.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. It might be a good idea.
Thank you, Bill.
Good evening, Eric Rollins. I live on Ashcroft Avenue in Clovis, and I'm a regular here. First, I just kind of wanted to follow up on what Bill had to say. We are truly blessed to live in a country that has freedom. But more importantly, we're in a country that kind of demands liberty to survive. And the difference between freedom and liberty is that liberty comes with responsibility. Freedom means you do whatever you want. Liberty means we need to focus on what is the better things for society. So you have a responsibility with your freedom. And because we have this liberty, we are the beacon for the world. We should be absolutely, even with our warts, because every government has problems, should be proud. We should celebrate this. And here we have the opportunity with 250 years of really something pretty great, where we've continually moved in a direction. For instance, I was at the Meet the Mayor, the last two Meet the Mayors, and we had two different communities that I don't normally see in council chambers. But we awakened some American citizens to come in and take part with government, both the East Indian community and the Hmong community. So I was proud to see that that actually happened, because I want every group to take part in this American dream, to realize how special it is. changing gears a little bit. Remember, we're only one generation away from losing our freedom. That's a famous quote from Ronald Reagan. Hopefully I still have some time. I do. I did have a question. I'm on the Measure Y committee, and as I was kind of reviewing some things, and I realize you probably can't answer now, but I want to follow up, but I wanted to do this publicly. We had a basically $4.7 million hole in our last budget, and then we passed Measure Y, and I was curious kind of how that hole got filled. And I can absolutely reach out to you, but I wanted people to think about that we need to be watching what's happening. Even though I think we have a pretty good government here in Clovis, and we have a good city manager, and he's got a great guy backing him up as the assistant city manager, we need to pay attention. Because all of these being part of government, and that's getting back to that idea of being a responsible citizen that we have from being in a republic. I thank you for this time.
Thank you, Eric.
Good evening, Council. I would like to take this opportunity on this last Saturday over at Clovis Veterans Memorial District. There was a nice ceremony honoring the Hmong community soldiers that fought in the Vietnam War that came over here. And I just wanted to thank the council for coming to that ceremony and partaking in it. And I think a lot of people learned a lot in their dancing and their the speeches that came, especially some of the ones that the speeches that the Mayor Vong here gave to us. And I'd like to thank you very much.
Thank you, Bill.
You're very welcome.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, he was quick.
How you doing?
Okay, so hi, my name is Crystal, and I have been a Clovis resident since 2019, and moved back to California from Arizona in 2018. I'm originally from Silicon Valley, so that might give you some perspective of how I was raised, is that I am free to venture and be anywhere my heart desires, which is how I ended up in Arizona. But anyway, I am here to raise concerns about ongoing landlord violations of California tenant protection laws, particularly habitability and retaliation, and the lack of timely and effective local enforcement. Although these protections are clearly established under state law, tenants are being forced to defend themselves in eviction court simply to address unsafe living conditions. When habitability violations go unenforced or enforcement is delayed, this becomes a public health and safety issue, not a private issue, not a private dispute. It falls squarely, my understanding is that this falls squarely within the city's responsibility. I'm asking the council to formally review the strengthen local enforcement of habitability, anti-retaliation laws by directing staff to access code enforcement response timeliness, and publish clear tenant guidance on retaliation protections, and implement protective enforcement so that these laws function as public safety safeguards, not as courtroom defenses or dramatics. So with that, I thank you for listening to me. And if you have any suggestions, I would welcome them.
Thank you, Crystal.
Thank you.
And maybe Andy? Okay. Crystal, we're going to allow Andy to get your contact so that way he can kind of let you know what we have in place.
Okay.
And then maybe something can move forward. He's our city manager. Okay.
Hi, thank you.
Okay, Mayor and council members, I'm Karen Tolero, and I live at 727 West Escalon, Clovis, which is part of Clovis West Estates, where Harry Armstrong was our neighbor for years, and Glenn Bryant and many others. And it's made up of the streets of Escalon and Gateway, Pierce, Timmy, and Adler. It's quite a large area. Why I'm here is to discuss the opening of the access on Escalon onto, from Willow, going southbound on Willow, being able to make a left turn into Clovis West Estates on Escalon Avenue. In 1980, Clovis West Estates was established, and we've lived there for 45 years. Several others have also. And that entrance or access to our neighborhood was closed for 12 years. It was nice, no problem. We had block parties, all kinds of fun things. Then we were told that Willow would never go through. Well, guess what? In 1992, Willow was planned to go through, and that they were planning, you know, an intersection there at Escalon and Willow Avenue. So Clovis West Estates put together a committee, Harry Armstrong and Glenn Bryant and Collins and Roger Toslin and myself, and we came up with the petition, and at that time the petition was to close off that access totally. We didn't want it. There, on Escalon, there are five access streets that fed into Escalon. And we didn't feel like into our neighborhood we needed any more access into Clovis West Estates. So we formed a petition. I took it house to house. Over 90% of the people signed the petition. And on July 20th, 1992, we brought it here to the council chambers and presented it, and it was voted on and passed. But planning department said, well, we have a problem because there are students that go to Cole that live on the west side, like the Fresno Hallmark homes, and those students need access to Cole Elementary. So we agreed they'd put in a pedestrian walkway, and that access would be a ride-in, ride-out, which it is today. We compromised, the system worked, and did the traffic get worse? Yes, but that's the way it's been for 33 years. Last Wednesday, December 31st, I was made aware that in the planning was to open up that access onto Escalon to southbound traffic coming off that, you know, major street, Willow Avenue, which is going 50 miles an hour, turning onto Escalon to come through our neighborhood. So this caused quite a bit of traffic problems since this opened up. We've had accidents. We've had cars end up in the middle of my neighbor's front yard. We've had children hit by cars. So one question is, could this be an access problem? And as I stated before, now with the opening of Willow as a ride-in, ride-out, which, by the way, we're happy with that solution. So if you have access from Adler from the north, you have Willow, you have Gateway, you have Pierce, Timmy, and Adler going to the south. You now have 6 intersections on Escalon Avenue. Now, the big problem here is the safety of our children. This is a very serious problem because all these streets in Clovis West Estates and the neighborhood to the north of us that come down Adler to Escalon, and they all walk around to Cole Elementary School. They have to cross all these streets in order to get to school. So if this were to happen and open up that intersection to Willow traffic, the boundary for Cole Elementary also goes on the west side of Willow from about Escalon to Herndon to Chestnut.
Karen?
That's a lot of homes in there that feed in to our neighborhood where the students, our children, are walking to school. And so,
Karen, can I ask you to wrap up?
yes.
Okay, thank you.
And so anyway, that's where I was. So what we are asking you is, we really want to ask for your support and your guidance. The people of Clovis West Estates don't want this. We would like your help and give a suggestion. What do we need to do to stop this?
Thank you, Karen.
Thank you.
And Andy, I understand you're already working with Karen
Yeah,
to
I'd-
just explain the situation, so that.
Yes,
Okay.
I'd encourage Karen to work with our city engineer, Thad Avery, he's right here, and continue to work with me as well to make sure your input is brought in. Right now, we're assessing the intersection for any kind of improvements that can be made, but there's been no decisions made on any kind of changes to that area.
Thank you. Yeah.
Continue working with us, and we'll make sure that you guys are aware of anything that's
Yeah.
coming.
Thank you. Anyone else like to address the council? You go ahead, sir. You can come up to the podium. Mhm.
Thank you, and forgive me, my comments are mostly tonight addressed at the council here, so I'm going to pretty much face you. I'm Bob Gatesman. I'm here with my wife Lillian tonight, and we've lived in Clovis for about 50 years, most of that time within the city limits, and in this particular neighborhood that Karen was talking about for 35 years. So I have one request, but before I make that request, this gives me an opportunity to say thank you for all of you for the time you put in for the city of Clovis. Not just you, the fire department, the police department, public utilities. My wife and I have used them multiple times in our life in Clovis, and we've never been disappointed. Quick responses, good answers. We appreciate that. And to transition into my request so I don't overdo my time here, in addition to saying thanks to you, I want to thank Karen. Good gosh, I saw Karen on the street today, and she told me she saved these records from back in 1990 about this, all these meetings and things, and I'm thinking, I would have thrown that out, Karen. Why did you save that? And then instantly it hit me, there was a reason. So thank you, Karen, for saving all those. Moving forward, my request is, when Karen asked us to come, I thought, I'd like to come and make some comments, but I can't comment because I'm really not informed on what's going on. So my request is that possibly I was hoping the city could send out a letter informing the neighborhood about this change in the intersection that we agreed upon 30-some years ago, and include in that who's making this request, the rationale for it, and perhaps a working diagram of what that intersection is going to look like in practice, so we can make some judgment calls when we come here for hopefully another meeting when we might be put on the agenda after all of us have been informed and can make some rational decisions about this. And let me see, what else? Forgive me, I have to look at my notes. I'm getting old and I don't remember things quite so well. That request I'm making would have the rationale, a working drawing for the people to look at, and perhaps if we could get on this agenda a traffic engineer that did the impact survey to the community here to answer questions and help us out. So thank you very much for hearing from us, and we appreciate your time.
Thank you, Mr. Gates. Anyone else like to address the council? Yes, go ahead.
So to this question, I don't know why we're reassessing the intersection, and I don't need to know everything, but I also don't know. So what I wonder is two things. One is your response, can the neighbors be notified, and you said keep working with us and we'll let you know. I wonder if there's a way to turn that around, and if we could just gather your names and we'll be the gatherer of the names. You don't have to call us at one at a time, so maybe we can make like a little neighborhood group of some sort, to your point. And whether it's a letter to send out, or I'm not sure, but if we could become the owner of that communication, like we do if there's a development project, for example. So that would put the onus on us to do the notifying, as opposed to you each trying to remember to call, because I might forget in 5 minutes. And then I think the second thing is it would be good to have an agenda item, because I actually don't know what the issue is. And maybe I guess what I really want to say is I don't even know if there is an issue. I'm not sure that there is an assessment or what they're assessing for. So maybe it could be agendized so we would know what's happening, because I don't know.
So what I can speak to, so one, before you all leave tonight, I want Thad, if you could stand up just so they know who you are. If you could check in with Thad, he can be your point of contact, give him any contact information that you need. Two, staff is assessing the area for any kind of improvements that could be made. Nothing's been decided. There's been no plans laid out. It's just how can we make this area work better for the neighborhood? And that was all that was going on. There's traffic counting going on out there right now. That is what is being considered. So there's no, like, here's a plan, we're implementing, nothing to that effect. So at this point, it's information gathering that's going on by our engineering team on how to make this area better if possible. So if there is something that would come out of that where a change would occur, then engagement with the neighborhood absolutely would need to happen.
So maybe there's a way, part of the information gathering could be, how do they think it could be better? In addition to what we might learn. So there could be still a way to have a conversation here, because there's no development, there's no bulldozer coming tomorrow, there's none of that. And there may never be anything else. But I think if we could, again, maybe lead our neighbors with us, because it would be alarming to someone tell you they're doing a traffic count to open up onto Willow. That would make you go, huh, that's interesting. So if we can just turn that around and own it, so maybe Thad, if you could make a neighborhood group and collect your neighbors' emails, or you might have those too. Karen must have a lot of things in her garage, I just don't know. But anyway, if we can own this, because I do think your neighborhood is so established, you've been there for such a long time, that would be the right thing to do. I have been to your neighborhood so many times.
I live 2 houses from Willow on Escalon.
Yeah.
This would be a dramatic impact on our
Yeah.
neighborhood.
Yeah.
So anybody who would like to come and visit our
Yep.
neighborhood, we invite you.
Thank you, thank you. So you make sure you give your contact information to Thad and all of you, and get your neighbors, and maybe Karen, you can gather people who, and you give it to Thad. So I think we can own this for you. You don't have to struggle to figure this out, what we're doing on our end. So Andy and Paul and team, if you don't mind doing it that way. Thanks.
And sort of what you just saw here is what our staff does automatically. And so I think Lynn is voicing it so that you understand how our city works. And many times we don't want to respond, but the staff is going to respond. The staff is going to listen and be able to work with you directly. So that way during the public comments, that's why it's a little bit quiet on our end, but that is what happens, and Andy and our staff listens, and they're going to reach out to all of you, okay? Okay. Anyone else like to address the council at this time? Okay, seeing none, we're going to go ahead and close the public portion. Now we're going to move to the consent calendar. Items on the consent calendar are routine in nature and recommended for approval by the City Council. These items are considered and voted on as a single item unless a council member requests separate consideration of any item. We have items 3 to 12. Anyone on the council like to pull any of these items? Anyone in the public would like to address items 3 to 12 on the consent item calendar? Okay, seeing none, it's the pleasure of the council.
I'll move for the approval of the consent calendar, items number 3 through 12.
Give me a second.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor of approving consent calendar items 2 to 12, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. We have an administrative item, item 13. It
Wait,
is.
can I say one thing?
Yes.
Did you say, oh, I said 3 through 12, and you just
Two.
said 2 through 12.
Okay, yes,
Sorry.
3 to 12. My
Sorry, okay,
apologies.
that was the motion. I just wanted to make sure I was right, sorry. Apologize.
Item 13, it's consider approval accepting the staff for adequate fire, the staffing for adequate fire and emergency response, the SAFER grant award in the amount of $2,018,479.50 to hire 6 firefighters for a period of 3 years to staff a fire squad, amending the fiscal year 2025-2026 budget to include the salary, benefits, and equipment needs paid through Measure Y funding, and amending the fire department position allocation for the required additional fire personnel. Staff on this is Chief Eck.
Thank you, Mayor and members of the council. Thank you for this opportunity to present our SAFER award and our squad deployment. With me tonight are members of our command team. With me is Deputy Chief Jason Rawls. And then in the audience, we have Life Safety Manager Chad Fitzgerald, who is the one that writes the grants for us and has got us our last 2 SAFER grants. And our Senior Management Analyst, Katie Cron. And both Chad and Katie work very hard on the grant management side of it. There's a lot of work involved with this, and I appreciate everything they did for our last grant. I'd also like to thank Jay and his finance team for helping us, working collaboratively with us on this project, and hopefully they can help if you have any financial questions. As the geographic city growth and increase in population has resulted in a steady rise in fire department demand and our call volume. These increases have resulted in a steady increase in response times, which don't meet our current established standards. So if you can see to the right, hopefully those are our response time standards, and we currently are over our standards on all 4 of those that are up there. First unit to EMS calls, to fires, and our effective response force is when all 5 of our units arrive on scene. So as you can see, our city keeps growing and our response times have grown with it. During our Measure Y planning, we identified 3 goals to use Measure Y funding for. Goal number 1 was to increase staffing, hire additional firefighters in an effort to reduce response times to all calls for service. Goal number 2, expand services, increase the number of staffed apparatus. And goal number 3, improvement involvement, increase opportunities for public education, recruitment, and community participation. By deploying a squad, that'll help us with goals number 1 and 2. So in our Measure Y our plan, in the second year, which would have been fiscal year 26-27, we requested the addition of a squad and staffing for it, which includes 3 engineers and 3 fire captains. So it'll be a captain and engineer on each squad, 1 per each of our 3 shifts. With that being said, we saw that we had an opportunity to go after SAFER grant funding again for firefighters through FEMA and the SAFER grant. Since we'd been successful before, we thought this would be a great opportunity and to allow us to free up some Measure Y fundings for some other projects. The application period opened in June of 25, and we were notified of our award in late 25 in just a little over $2 million to fund the hiring of 6 firefighters for a period of 3 years. So by accepting the grant, the fire department will accelerate the initial timeline of squad implementation to begin March 2025 instead of fiscal year 26-27. And the reason behind that is the grant, they have stipulations and they give us 180 days to hire the firefighters. So that would give us March 23rd would be the 180 days, and that would be the first day of their training academy. Like I said, it's a 3-year commitment. SAFER covers 75% years 1 and 2, and 35% in year 3, and then we absorb the costs after that. And this is the same SAFER grant that we did in 2019 that we used for staffing of Fire Station 6 when we hired 9 firefighters and then staffed Station 6 with 3 captains, 3 engineers, and 3 firefighters. So squad staffing, like I mentioned, would be a captain and engineer, and we're requesting a department position allocation to be adjusted to add 3 captains and 3 engineers. The firefighters that we hire, the 6 firefighters that we hire will complete their new hire training. They would start on March 23rd, finish on April 30th, and we'd be able to staff the squad on May 1, sorry. The apparatus was already approved by council in September of 2025. And with this, we do have some one-time setup costs that we're gonna have to front load into this fiscal year instead of 26, 27. Those initial setup costs are for outfitting the apparatus, the station, and personnel for the squad at Fire Station 2. So such equipment includes our personal protective equipment, like we see the firefighters wearing, self-contained breathing apparatus, equipment for outfitting the apparatus, and furniture for the fire station as well. Total budget expenditure and amendment for the budget would be $1,049,000, and that's for everything, for the staffing and all the one-time setup costs for the station, equipment, and personnel. And go back to with the squad staffing, we did staff a squad back in the late 90s and early 2000, up until about 2007, and this would be the same squad staffing that we had back then with a captain and engineer. And we do that because it's the most effective, most effective model to ensure we have a supervisor on the squad and a qualified driver operator due to the complexity of our incidents and the need to make critical decisions on incidents. So in conclusion, by accepting the SAFER 2024 grant award, the fire department will be able to hire 6 firefighters, and then will allow us to utilize Measure Y funding to promote 3 captains, 3 engineers, and put our first squad into service at Fire Station number 2 on May 2026. And this would help us meet number one and number 2 goals for Measure Y. With that, I'd like to thank you for your continued support of the fire department as we continue to meet the growing demands of our city in order to be the safest city in the valley. And with that, we're open to any questions.
Any questions? Go ahead, Joe.
I'd like to congratulate you, Chief, and your staff on being able to get the grant so we can get ahead of this. Have we taken possession of the squad, or when will that be coming?
Not that we ordered that at the end of September, in September of 25 when it was approved. So we're looking at probably early 27, summer of 27, just with the 2-year build time. So in that meantime, we'll be just putting a F-250 into service.
Oh, okay.
Until it gets here.
Do we have that F-250 now?
Yes, we do have.
And it's fully outfitted?
That's what some of this is for,
so
to outfit it.
You anticipate you'll be able to get it outfitted by the time everybody's trained and ready to go?
Yes.
Okay. And would they also be able to use we have a reserve fire engine, right?
I'm sorry?
We have a reserve fire rig, right? We keep in reserve?
What type of, yeah, we have reserve, an engine almost at each station, a reserve truck, yeah.
So in the event that we had a problem with the F-250, they could utilize?
Well, we have a pretty good squad of F-250s as well, a good little fleet.
I always anticipate something going south.
Yeah, I know, it will, but.
Just a rhetorical question.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, that's all I have.
Go ahead, Lynn.
Congratulations, nice job, Chad.
Thank you.
Can you just describe for the public what happens when the 3 years is over and the continued employment of those 6 firefighters, how that will work?
Yeah, so we'll still maintain the squad. The squad will stay in service with the 2 personnel. After that 3rd year, then the city's on the hook for 100% of the staffing. So we would take over all the
the expenses. So I think it's just
The
important to
salary
say,
benefits.
we're not gonna hire people for 3 years, then let people go.
No.
So the city will then have an additional cost for 6 firefighters
Yes.
whenever
after
the 3 years is up. I
Yes,
can't count that
correct.
far, but.
Yeah,
okay.
we would not
Yeah,
get rid of them
okay.
after the 3 years.
And then I had another really important question, which I've now Chad is laughing at me. I now I forgot the question, but thank you. I think it's really great, but I do think that as long as we're clear on this is for the. Oh, I know. Do you have 6 firefighters in the pipeline?
Yes, we do.
You
We're
do?
getting ready. I'm doing some more interviews this week, so
Okay.
hopefully be making notifications on
Okay.
no later than Thursday, hopefully.
Yeah.
But we had a really good lateral recruitment for our lateral
Okay.
firefighters, so we did really well. Got a great pool of candidates. so,
Excellent. So I know
yes.
you've commented over the last year or so that the pipeline's not quite what it used to be. So as long as we think we can hire to our standards, that would
Yeah,
also
we
be
did.
super
We did
important.
an excellent job on our last recruitment.
Excellent.
Thanks to my command team. We did a good job.
Good job. Well done, everybody. Well done.
Any other questions from the council? Chief, I just want to say excellent work, Chad. Excellent work. And so on getting this is what, second, third time you've done this? Fourth? Okay. Third? Okay, excellent. And so on May 1st, then the squad is active, is
Correct.
ready to go.
Ready to go.
Will you be taking stats as in, here's the squad getting to versus an engine getting
Yeah.
to? So that way in a year, we can kind of actually see not just times decreasing, but, oh, the squad made this one go down, the squad
Yeah.
made that one go down.
Yes, we will. Chad's
Okay.
in charge of all our data too, so I'm sure he's chomping at the bit to do that.
Yeah, I think,
But yeah, we'll have data on each, we'll have the difference even between the truck and the engine and the squad, so.
Excellent, because
Yeah.
I think we'll be excited to see that in a year.
Yeah. So
Because we've been hearing about this for a couple of years, and now
Yeah.
it's going to happen.
Nice
so
to see it come to fruition.
Congratulations. Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
That's it.
Can I make one other comment?
Yes,
Just to play off what you said, I do think relative to Measure Y and just the city in general, it might be interesting if we had a public safety kind of dashboard for both PD and fire on the metrics that you use to measure yourselves and that we report to our residents in a single place, so that we more intentionally can see that quarterly or every 6 months what our progress is, what our gaps are, where we need to fill in. So I think it could be part of the Measure Y. We said we'd do this. We said we'd be better at response or faster at this. So maybe staff can just take that under advisement as a way to have, because you're working on really good internal dashboards. So it might be, to start with public safety would be an interesting way to have an external facing dashboard for folks so they can see what's happening with our public safety improvements because of Measure Y. So just a thought on that. Thanks.
I think currently PD does it on social media. I see that quite
We could have a section
monthly.
for it.
Yeah, so, PD already has it. I see that monthly. You guys put out a pretty good report of stats out, so I haven't seen it on fire, but maybe you guys do it too.
Yeah, I'm not asking for new work, I'm just asking
Yeah.
for an collecting what you already do and just having maybe a more easily accessed public safety dashboard so folks can track that. Because you do share and measure everything, so that would be helpful. Thanks.
This time we open up to the public. I'd like to have any questions or comments on this item. Go ahead, Eric.
Okay, I'm on the Measure Y committee, so obviously I'm committed to helping police and fire. But I do have some questions. When you get a grant, frequently there's strings attached. So what are the strings that go with this one? Is there an ongoing, I get that we want to continue the employment of those officers, but is there continuing commitments that come with that grant after it's 3 years? We've been pretty conservative with how we've spent Measure Y money at this point because we're not completely sure what the number is going to be. We have kind of a range. Is there money in the Measure Y? Because we've already allocated quite a bit of Measure Y money. Is there enough money to pay for 6 firefighters? I'm not saying there's not a need. I'm saying we need to have this thought through. And then what is that total number? How much does it cost for 6 firefighters 3 years from now? Because there's going to be raises. It's not going to be the same amount. I want us to look ahead and have a plan because I don't want to fail in this. We need more officers. So I want us to have our eyes open and basically plan ahead. Aside from that,
Okay. Thank you. Chief, any of those?
Chad, you want to come up and help with some of the strings?
Yeah.
Well, like the major strings, some of the strings we have is the 3-year commitment, and we have to provide 25% of the staffing the first 2 years. 65 the third year, and then Chad will give you, he knows all the ins and outs.
I'll also make a quick comment that when we look at these application periods, we also don't want to overcommit. So we look at the grants as an opportunity to help fund something that was already in our plans moving forward. And we use that as an opportunity to save the city money while still moving forward with what our 5-year forecast and our needs are. So we don't apply thinking, hey, this is just a nice to have. We apply for these for something that we already have a need identified for. We already have, funding being communicated with the finance department and the support of council to move forward with our plan before we ever apply for these.
And before you say something, Eric, I just want to say on behalf of the council, since I've been on when the last time we had a SAFER grant, that is exactly how it was presented to us. That was part of the forecast, but because of the grant, we're able to save some of those funds now because we were going to hire them anyway, but this allowed us to hire them immediately so that we can better plan for these 6, 5, whatever, how many firefighters that are coming. And so that's how the staff has always operated, at least since I've been on the council with these grants. So that way, we're not just doing it in 6 or 3 years, like, oh, well, you gotta let 6 of these officers or firefighters go. So I wanted to reiterate that on behalf of the council. That's how we've always heard it and presented from fire as well. Go ahead, Chad.
Yeah, no, I honestly, between staff and council, there are no other strings attached to this. There's nothing operating behind the scenes with Department of Homeland Security or FEMA that puts an undue burden on the department to do anything in addition to what the numbers you've seen already. As Chief Rawls pointed out, these were programmed in. This just allows us to bring them on a little earlier, which is a great thing for the city. And the cost share that Chief outlined is something that is a normal part of the grant, with the intention that, hey, jurisdiction, you're gonna hang on to these, right? So it's an investment on our part to bring them on at this juncture. Fortunately, we have the money to cost share with FEMA, and there are no additional strings behind the scenes attached to this.
Mayor, if I may.
Yes.
Well, just a question. Do you, in a case like this grant, do you receive the funds all at once?
I wish.
Well, I guess my follow-up is, there's an unreliability, I think, in some federal agencies about whether they'll be there tomorrow, funding
Yes.
next week. FEMA's on that often talked about list. So can you just comment on the reliability of the funds?
Absolutely.
As best
So-
you could see.
Sure. So this particular grant function is congressionally approved. So these monies are allocated, programmed into the federal budget on an annualized basis. And in terms of the reimbursement process, it's done on about a quarterly level. So we submit our payroll numbers, and if it weren't for the hard work of Katie and Jay's team, that would be an effort that I would want to retire tomorrow. But honestly, they do a really good job of getting those monies in. We get feedback if there's something that's off. Katie's responsible to program any increases in that we see. So the reimbursement comes in on a quarterly basis, and it just happens as a matter of communicating back with FEMA and their assigned personnel. The person we have assigned on the FEMA side this time, we have had great interaction with in the past, which is good news for us. So yeah, we'll be doing it on a quarterly basis over the next 3 years.
I think as we have advocacy and outreach, whatever that looks like, to our federal officials, just letting them know maybe they know we got this, but that we got this and what this needs, they need to pay attention to this budget line item as things go forward over the next at least 3 years. So we make sure that halfway through the grant, we don't get a note that says, kidding, no more money, because that would be an offset that we couldn't anticipate now, but that would be a problem. So that would be important.
To your point, when they had the federal shutdown, that was something that did cause a pause, but it did not take the funds away or remove them because they are already programmed in there. It just meant there was a brief moment where we had to do some waiting, and they're very responsive. When they came back to work, we were one of the first agencies that got a contact from them to continue the process.
Thanks.
Andy, you had some comments.
Yeah, just one first thing. If not for Measure Y, we'd have not had the confidence or ability to go after these funds. So Measure Y is being leveraged right now to produce additional revenues into our community from the federal government. The use of those funds will be critical and planned thoughtfully through our 5-year forecasting. We cannot operationalize these monies in the next 3 years. We need to set them aside, use them for capital, use them to buy fire equipment, those types of things, so that as we need to absorb those operational costs in the later years of the grant, we are well positioned to do so. Our 5-year forecast, which we're working on going into March, will take all this into account so we can take a good look at it and make sure we're in a good spot when this grant ends.
Anyone else in the public like to address the council? Okay, seeing none, we'll close that and bring it back to the council. Any more questions or get a motion?
I'll move that we accept the staffing for the Safer Grant Award in the amount of $2 million and some to hire 6 firefighters as outlined in the staff report.
You get a second? Okay, we have motion second on the floor. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Well done, team.
Okay, great job.
Thank you.
Okay, next is a council item and an exciting one.
How long are you going to talk, Scott?
So we have a receive and file. This is a Brown Act update and amendments for 2026. And our city attorney, Scott Cross, will be presenting this. Go ahead.
And right?
Is this like sequels that are always longer than the first one? So this is like 2.5 hours of Brown?
This will be much, much shorter. There's less updates to cover this time. So this is not, just so the public knows, this is not a full 2-hour Ethics, Brown Act, Public Records Act update.
Because if it was, I'd tell you all to run now while you could like go.
Yeah, the council and many city officials are required to get biannual ethics training, Public Records Act, Brown Act. This is not that 2-hour training tonight. So, but everyone in here is lucky to be part of this tonight. So, but I have about 20 slides. We'll try to keep it to 15 to 20 minutes, but there is an opportunity for questions. So, but I want to cover generally what the Brown Act is, kind of just a brief overview. The council certainly is aware of that, but for the public that's in attendance, can help answer some of the questions. If you come to meetings and you understand, or you have questions of why do they do it that way, some of these will answer those questions. We'll also cover some of the changes for the Brown Act requirements in 2026. Some of them are in effect as of now, that went into effect January 1. Others are going to be becoming effective July 1, 2026, and we'll go over those as well. So Brianna's volunteered to be my clicker, so thank you. So you can go to the next slide. So the Brown Act overview. What is it? The Brown Act is California's open meeting law, as I think many of you know. It's not just city councils. It covers school board meetings, county board of supervisors meetings, other local meetings, special districts, the mosquito abatement district that you heard today. Their meetings are covered by the Brown Act. So all meetings of the legislative body of those agencies are open to the public. The public can attend. It may not be all that exciting to do so, but you're available, or you have the ability to attend those meetings and speak and be heard at those meetings. Next slide, please. What does the Brown Act require? Actions and deliberations take place in open before the members of the public, as you've seen tonight. You know, the public has an opportunity to comment, staff presents, before the council makes a decision, they have an opportunity for public input. They're open unless there's certain closed sessions that are allowed. We'll cover that briefly. We have a closed session on tonight's agenda that you'll see. The packets are available, the meeting agendas are available, the public has an ability to see what it is that the council or the school board or whatever agency it is going to be covering that evening. So if it's not of interest to them, stay home, watch the football game, do whatever. But if it's something that's of interest to them, they can show up at the meeting and be there to at least witness it or even comment on it. Next slide, please. So 2 types of meetings. There's regular meetings, there's special meetings. Most often it's regular meetings. Clovis, we meet the first 3 Mondays of the month, regular meetings. We're required to give 72-hour notice, and that means the agenda or the agenda packet needs to be available publicly at least 72 hours before that meeting. Typically, it's posted Thursday late afternoon, maybe Friday, to meet that 72-hour requirement for our Monday meetings. Sometimes, when the need occurs, we have special meetings. Those require less notice, and it's not a regular meeting, obviously. It's a special meeting, typically designed to cover 1 or 2 topics that either we couldn't get in on a regular meeting, or it came up maybe between meetings and we need to cover it. So less notice is required, and it's specifically only on the items on the agenda that we're covering. Next slide, please. In the Brown Act meeting, what is a meeting? As the council knows and the public should know, any congregation of a majority of the council. So 3 council members get together to hear, discuss, deliberate, or take action on any item of business within the jurisdiction, the subject matter jurisdiction of that legislative body is considered a meeting. So even if no action is taken. So if 3 of you are getting together, as you certainly know, we're not going to be talking about city business, hearing it, presenting it, unless it's been an agendized meeting. Next slide, please. So we've covered this before, as you all know, but the public, we want to, obviously the Brown Act is designed to prevent serial meetings, what we call serial meetings, where we would have linear or chain meetings. You know, Councilmember A goes to Councilmember B and says, hey, I'm going to vote this way on this thing. Then you go to Councilmember C and D and so on. We can't have that. We don't do that. The hub and spoke is the other one where, let's say, you have one person as the hub feeding information to all the various council members or the legislative body members. Hey, I spoke with Councilmember A. This is what she's going to do. You speak to Councilmember B. This is what she's going to do. So we don't have that. That would be considered a meeting because, again, you're communicating, or it's being communicated to the other council members, kind of information and what that decision is going to be, or how that council member or school board member, whoever it might be, is leaning on a subject. Next slide, please. So the Brown Act goes through a whole list of things that are not considered meetings. These are all okay. You're not, we don't have to post an agenda. We don't have to do anything. Individual contacts and conversations between council members, as long as you're not talking about city business, no issue. And technically, even individual contacts between 2 of you is not a majority of the council. But again, as I've advised before, that can lead to the potential hub and spoke or serial meetings, even though you may not intend it. So again, even if, let's say, Vong and Lynn were talking about an item that's going to be coming up on an agenda, that's not a meeting, that's not prohibited by the Brown Act because it's just 2 of you. But if a third one came along, then we would have a problem. We'd want to make sure that those discussions are saved for an agendized meeting in front of the public. Public conferences, you guys attend?
Scott, I had a
Yep.
question on that one.
Sure.
Can the public, is there a violation if one member of the public polls us, talks to us? You know, whether it's serial or hub and spoke, as long as they don't relate to us, it's okay, or can they?
Polling is not in and of itself a violation of the Brown Act, but you don't know if you're voicing kind of your position on something to a member of the public, you don't know whether that member of the public's going to go to another council member and say, hey, I spoke to Vong. Vong's going to go this way on this issue. And then that member goes to someone else. That's why I think it's important for legislative body members not to necessarily, even when you're engaging with the public, certainly you're hearing them, you're, listening to them, getting their input, but as far as expressing your opinion on something that may come up on an agenda item, I think I always caution you guys, let's wait until the staff report comes out, wait until the staff presentation is. If it's a public hearing, there's going to be a lot of discussion and input. You may be just getting one side of it from members of the community that you're engaging with. You want to make sure you're hearing all sides of it at the meeting. So, yeah, but again, you don't know, that's the issue with the hub and spoke or the serial meeting. You don't know, you may be just having an individual conversation with that person. You don't know what that person's going to do with that. They may go to another council member. Wouldn't necessarily be, obviously, an intentional violation. It's not an issue for the council members. It's potentially an issue if it comes up later on during a meeting that those discussions were had. That's where we'd have to kind of correct that.
Thank you.
So I won't go through the whole list, but obviously public conferences, let's say the League of California Cities, you guys have, those are a couple of times a year. I know at least a majority of you often attend those. That's not a meeting. You're there to get information. It's an open and publicized meeting. Community meetings, I think we've had several community meetings over the last couple of years. As council members, you're authorized to attend those meetings. Even if they're addressing a topic of community concern, they're open and noticed. You're there kind of gathering information. Nothing prohibits you from even speaking on that topic at those meetings. Other local agency meetings, and that can be the city's own planning commission, let's say, or the Measure Y committee, or even go into a Board of Supervisors meeting, or a school board meeting. A majority of you can go to the Board of Supervisors meeting and be there talking on a matter of concern, maybe for Clovis, that the board might need to address, not a Brown Act violation. It wouldn't not need to be agendized as a City of Clovis City Council meeting if you're there at another agency's meeting that's open and noticed. Social gatherings, obviously, you can get together for a holiday party or whatever, as long as you're not talking about the general plan update for the City of Clovis that's going to be coming to the council next month or whenever. Talk about the football games, talk about kids, talk about grandkids, whatever it might be. Nothing prohibits you guys from still getting together, even if it's 3 or more of you getting together, not talking about city stuff. And then attendance at open and notice standing committees of the city, again, Measure Y, meetings with city staff. Certainly you guys can have individual meetings with city staff to gather information, to understand what it is that's coming to the city council at a different point. Staff, we don't meet with 3 of you at the same time and go over that stuff. We'll meet individually with you. Nothing prohibits you from meeting with staff to gather information. Next slide, please. So closed sessions, I mentioned that briefly. We have one tonight. They're permitted, so that's an opportunity for the council in certain circumstances to meet in closed session. No members of the public are allowed. They're very limited. They're specified in the Brown Act. Those are the only topics in which we can go into closed session on. We have to identify it on the agenda. We announce it in closed session. We will at the end of this meeting. And then the mayor will open it up. Is there any public comment on that item before we go into closed session? So again, the public has an opportunity to comment on it before you go into closed session. They're not going to be able to be in closed session, though, when we're having those discussions. And there's very limited opportunities for action to be taken in closed session. So oftentimes it's just providing information, gathering input from the council. A few times there's authorized opportunities to take action in closed session, but even if that happens, then we're required to report out back in open session what that action is. Yeah, thank you. So that was the history, or kind of the basic overview, refresher. Recent updates. So SB 707 was signed into law last year. There's two things that it does. There's some provisions that apply to all legislative bodies, and those go into effect or went into effect January 1. There's others that apply to eligible legislative bodies as defined in the act, and those go into effect July 1. So we'll cover all of those. And it's mainly the teleconferencing provisions. We didn't have, I don't recall if we did any just cause or emergency. If the council recalls, there's what we call traditional teleconferencing that's been around forever. And maybe some of you have used that in the past. If you're out of town for some reason and you really have a burning desire to participate in the city council meeting, years ago, the only way you could do so is if you included the address of where it is that you're going to be on the agenda. You actually got the agenda from the clerk 3 days before, or we would send it to the hotel. It would have to be posted at that location 72 hours in advance. And then wherever you were, you had to open that area of the, wherever you were, the hotel, you'd meet in the hotel lobby, whatever, to members of the public who may want to attend the Clovis City Council meeting at your remote location. So that was traditional teleconferencing. Correct. Traditional teleconferencing, still available. But then after COVID hit, the legislature allowed for just cause and emergency teleconferencing with some additional rules that went into effect with those, some of which had to deal with, making audio and visual available from the remote location. So if you were on Zoom, you had to be able to see your face. The important thing for just cause and emergency was you did not have to open your remote location to members of the public. You could just sit in the comfort of your own home, participate in the meeting, no members of the public allowed, because again, it sprung out of COVID. We wanted to have separate places for people to meet, whatever. Those were designed or intended to end after 2025, but they've been extended now through 2030. Some of those just cause and emergency. I think some agencies got a little relaxed. People like to just remotely attend. Thankfully, you don't. I've always suggested if you're not able to be here in person, it's okay to be absent. It's okay for a council member not to attend a meeting if you're absent. It does create some issues for the clerk if we're having to do some scrambling for remote attendance and whatnot. Again, it's not an insurmountable hurdle, but if it's okay, you guys are fine just to be absent. Next slide, please. So remote attendance is an accommodation. So just to go back, just cause an emergency, there are limits. You can only do, I think it's 5 a year. So a council member can only do up to 5 just cause or emergency attendance, remote attendance a year. However, if it's an accommodation for a disability, then they can be allowed more than just the minimum of 5. And there was a case that came out, I think last year about that remote attendance for an elected official at a legislative body meeting is a reasonable accommodation that must be accommodated. So we can't start counting those absences against you or say, hey, sorry, you've only got 5 remote attendance in a calendar year. The other rule change or the extension was disruptions. So disruptions, thankfully we don't have any disruptions at our Clovis council meetings, but if you've paid attention to the news, you may have seen some council meetings, school board meetings, other meetings can get fairly lively. So there is an opportunity under the Brown Act to have disruptive people removed, and some of that stuff was extended as well. Again, causing a disruption that's prohibiting the council from proceeding with the proceedings, going on to the next agenda item, whatever it is. And as you can imagine, if there's remote attendance by members of the public, Zoom bombing, if you may have heard of that, there was a lot of that going on. So next slide, please. Other rules. So you're in luck. Copies of the Brown Act are now required to be given to every newly elected member of the legislative body. You know that we provide, our law firm provides the Brown Act handbook, right? That you will be compliant with this provision now when I give you your annual Brown Act handbook. So it just, I guess the legislature wants all members of the legislative body to have a copy of the Brown Act. Doesn't require that you actually read it, but you have a copy of it. So social media, if you recall too, there was a new provision that was added a few years ago, and I can't recall the bill number, but it talks about engaging with members of the public on social media. And there's also some restrictions or prohibitions from council members liking comments from another council member or responding to a post from another council member, because again, then you could get into the potential serial meeting. Let's say Drew posts a comment and Vong likes it and Diane likes it. Well then, you know, the perception is that now at least 3 of you share the same position on whatever it is that Drew posted about. That was extended as well. It was designed to sunset, what we call sunset at the end of 2025, but that was extended. And then the last bullet point we'll hit on the very next item is the existing requirement. So this bore out of the City of Bell scandal, if you recall the City of Bell about 15 years ago. The Brown Act was updated then to require that any time that the council or any legislative body, whether it's a school board, whatever, is going to consider salaries, a salary schedule, or compensation that they're going to be paying to the local agency executive, that has to be done in open session, and it can't be a consent item. So some of that was extended, and also the local agency executive definition of that was expanded to include some other people. Obviously, the city manager is a local agency executive, but it expands to cover even a wider range of department heads, other administrative officers. Next slide. So those were changes that were required for all legislative bodies. Now it's what's the eligible legislative bodies, and these are rules that go into effect July 1, so not yet in effect, and we're going to be working towards those. The City of Clovis meets the definition or one of the definitions in the law, so it clearly applies to the City of Clovis. Next slide, please. Hybrid meetings. So beginning July 1 of this year, the City of Clovis, as any eligible legislative body, must hold hybrid meetings in person and have either two-way teleconference or two-way audiovisual capability. We do that now largely as a convenience to the public, where people could call in. They don't have to be here in person, or they can come in on WebEx. That's been a convenience that's not been legally required that Clovis has done. But starting July 1, we will have to legally continue it. So members of the public don't need to be here in person. They can participate remotely. They have to have that opportunity.
Scott, can I ask a question about
Sure.
that? So, option for folks to participate, same time allotment, makes me wonder about, we don't typically, and have not ever, read the names of the folks who submit written comments in this convenience thing. I always think that's a little unfair, because I could write some scathing email and no one will ever know that I said that as a citizen. Would it be wise that we would say, and we have 3 other public comments via email from John Doe, blah, blah, blah. I mean, is there anything that speaks to that? Because I do think the not making it public is not really public. It's really, as far as the public goes, it's kind of an anonymous letter that they don't see. So is there any wisdom on that? And maybe it's not significant, but I, for one, think it's a little unusual that we don't include their names, because they would be standing here equal time if they were in the room.
Yeah, there's nothing that prohibits you from announcing the names of anything. Those records, those emails, whatever it is a public record that's available. I think we include it. Brianna, correct me if I'm wrong. It's not in the meeting minutes, but it's part of the record of the meeting, right?
Yes, Councilmember Ashbeck. Our current process, which is going to be changing here soon, is we attach the public comment that we receive to those approved minutes of that date. So they are available on our website to review, and anyone can go in there and scroll past the minutes, and every public comment that we have received, that you have received, will be attached to those approved minutes. In the very near future, we will have a section where members of the community can go and click on a word called supplemental material, and they'll be able to see any public comment separated from the minutes as you guys receive it that evening.
I wonder if maybe, like, under public comments, the way it is now, Anna, Kathy, and Bill spoke last time, but I mean, maybe you add the written comments received just by their names, because I think trying to make me attach and link and click and open, and I can't find it, and I don't know what our supplemental material might be. So it might just be a consideration that we just include public comments, those in person, and written comments received from in the minutes themselves.
Oh, yes.
And then you could link to the document if somebody wanted to click on that and see what John Doe said about an item. But I just think it seems, for me as one person, it just seems more open that we include them up front and easily accessible. So just a thought.
Oh yeah, we can note that in our minutes
Yeah.
going forward.
Yeah.
Okay, so continuing on with the hybrid meetings, as council was asking, anyone appearing remotely, whether they're calling in or appearing via WebEx or whatever our program is given the same 3 minutes to speak. They'll have an opportunity with each agenda item to speak on that agenda item, whatever it might be. And then the presiding officer, the mayor, has the ability to remove or limit participation if they're, again, causing a disruption, or they impede the conduct of the meeting itself. So,
Scott,
Yeah.
are we required to show their picture on the, in the meeting?
I think we are not, if they want to black out their screen, they're allowed to. So I think of 4 ways. So they have to be able to hear the council. They have to be able to see the council. 2 things. Obviously, the council, we need to be able to hear them providing their input, but we're not, the law doesn't require that we, as the council, the members here in attendance, need to see them. They need to be able to see us and hear us, however. So if they want to black their screen out, they can do that, or whatever it is, but yeah, we're not required. We can't say, we're not going to allow you to participate unless you let us see you.
Maybe I poorly answered that question, asked that question. If someone, let's say they come on and they're wearing overly sexualized clothing, Are we allowed to turn their camera
If
off?
we, yeah, it would be the
'Cause
call if we think it's disruptive or, yeah, kind of out of order.
We've all seen the
Yeah.
videos where somebody stands up and does
Correct.
something
Yep.
completely inappropriate.
Yeah, we can cut the video at that point. We could
Okay.
cut their video, yeah.
All right, I'm surprised they didn't force us to do that, but, okay.
And just a question on that, has our WebEx capability improved in that you can actually see the council more than an inch-by-inch box?
I believe it has, yeah.
So they can, I don't watch this on WebEx, so I don't really know what it looks like, but.
We
so-
no longer have WebEx unless someone is calling in. So
Okay.
our new video stream on YouTube and on our website, depending on how I like to do our program here, I can do a close-up of you as an individual or a close-up as you as a whole group of 5. And so, yeah, the video
Good,
has
okay.
improved very much so.
No close-ups of me as an individual. That's forbidden. Thanks, Brianna.
Next slide, please. So we're getting almost to the end here. I don't know where we got number 37. There's no way there's 37 slides. Hybrid meetings interrupted. So this is actually something that's going to require us to present a policy to the council to do. This is kind of I guess the one thing that I'm interested to see how it's going to work. So again, beginning July 1, we have to adopt a policy addressing service interruptions for those meetings. Again, the audio-visual portion of the meeting, if it's that service is interrupted, and members who may be attending, remotely from their homes can no longer hear or see the council, then we're required, if you can believe it, we're required to recess the meeting for at least 1 hour to try and deal with the service interruption. I'm not sure how that's going to work, but the law says 1 hour. So it can't just be, hey, for as soon as we get it restored 5 minutes later, we're back up and running. We have to be recessed for an hour. Now, during that hour, we can go into closed session. We can take closed session items perhaps out of order from the agenda, and then when the service interruption is restored, then we can go back. It also allows us, after that 1 hour, if for some reason we can't restore the service, people are free to come here in person and be at the meeting. So we can go back and resume the meeting after an hour, but we have to make certain findings and whatnot. That we took reasonable efforts to restore service and we weren't able to do it, all that stuff. So Brianna and I are in the process of working on a draft policy that we'll have to you in the coming months to meet that July 1 deadline to see how it is that we're going to be able to work it. But I think to Drew's, question, again, there's two sides of it. If the service interruption is on the public side, we're not required to deal with it. But if we learn that our feed is being interrupted for some reason to members of the public, then we're required to recess the meeting for that 1 hour and then deal with it. So it's going to be an interesting one.
Let's be clear. Our internet goes out at home all the time, and you have to reboot and blah, blah, blah. 4 minutes. If that happens here, even if we get it back in 4.5 minutes, we have to take an hour off while we go have coffee?
That's the way the law reads, yes. And I think I don't often try to get in the heads of the legislature, but I think the reason for it is because you would have members in the public maybe viewing from home or whatever that would have no idea. I mean, are they supposed to sit by their computer as well and say, I'm waiting for that service to be restored? They may go out and do whatever, but if the policy of the council is, hey, we're going to go for an hour and then we're going to restore it, or we're going to come right back, they know, hey, I got an hour to go do whatever I'm doing and I'm coming back. I guess the issue is they're going to potentially miss something if, the service gets interrupted and they think, it's going to be out for 10 minutes, whatever, I'm going to go do something, and then lo and behold, they come back and it's been going for the last 20 minutes again, and they missed their item that they were intending to comment on for that meeting. So it's going to be interesting. We'll have to kind of see how it works, and hopefully, fingers crossed, we don't have any issues, and we'll double up on whatever it is our internet service provider for the city of Clovis. But yeah, we'll have to draft a policy and deal with it, and then I guess we'll kind of experiment together.
Question. Do we have a way to track how many people are participating remotely? Like, Brianna, do you know right now if anybody's watching online? And if we knew there was no one who was participating remotely, would that still apply?
So right now, I show, and I don't know if this is completely accurate, this is through YouTube Studio, I show that I have 41 views, and I don't know how they're viewing it. But coming from my previous role, when we did use Zoom, I can see how many individuals have participated, how many come on, and how many come off. And there will be times in my previous role where it would be empty, and then an item will be coming up, and then we'd get a flood of residents coming on. So you can see how many, and if Mayor ever asked how many residents are on right now, I could give him a report at that time.
Yeah, it's something that we may want to look at a little deeper in drafting this policy. If at the time that the service interruption occurs, if we know, that there was no one attending, yeah, maybe we just go ahead and continue on if it gets restored in 10 minutes. The risk would be that, we could get someone say, hey, you guys went ahead and did that. Technically, it was a violation of the Brown Act because you were supposed to wait for an hour to go back. So I wouldn't want to put the council in a position where we might have to redo action from that meeting to avoid any potential issue. So it may just be, again, we'll look at it to make sure, but it may just be we got to sit on our hands for an hour or take a closed session item if we have one that evening on the closed session. So next slide, please. So hybrid meetings interrupted. If the service disruption is not resolved before the meeting is reconvened, then we must, by roll call vote, adopt the findings, and we'll have those findings in our policy. Hey, we made good faith efforts to restore it. It's in the public policy to continue with the meeting. We don't want to cancel the rest of the meeting altogether. We're already here. Let's go ahead and at least wait that hour, but we're going to restore it as soon as we can, or at least reconvene the meeting even if the service is not restored. Next slide. The last item is a translation for meeting agenda. I don't think it's going to apply. We don't think it's going to apply to Clovis, but agendas for meetings must be translated into all applicable languages, and that's defined, applicable language in the statute, as those spoken by at least 20% of the population. It's the population of the city. So 20% speaks this language and also does not speak English very well. And it's defined in this American Community Survey. To be honest, I'm not familiar with that. But that's the survey that we're supposed to use. We can use another service as long as it's a reliable service, but I think initial indications are we don't have 20% of the population in Clovis speaking another language that we would need to translate to. So we don't think we're going to have to deal with the translation requirements at this point. Next slide. So takeaways, we'll review and revise any policies to ensure compliance. Some are already in effect January 1 that we're already complying with, and then basically it's the meeting disruption of the hybrid meeting that's the big one for July 1 that we need to come up with a policy, and we'll present that to you in the coming months. Any other questions?
Any other questions? City Attorney? Go ahead, Drew.
Scott, going back to the translation services, about 40% of Clovis is Latino. How do we determine that less than 20% speak English sufficiently to not have to translate it?
I'm not familiar with that community survey, but I think that's where the answer is. Andy's raising his hand. So,
yeah, the American Community Survey is a federal census product that actually polls households by language spoken, first language, second language, and that is the data that they're using to determine the level of languages in your community to see if you need to translate for those. Typically, we haven't breached 10% of any one language in Clovis via the ACS, which is done on an annual basis.
So we're, as far as we know, the last survey, it doesn't reach 20%?
No. Yeah,
okay.
The last survey I've seen.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and again, I think it's a two-pronged question, I guess, or requirement in the code. It's 20%, so even if you have, let's say, 40%, as you said, they may be speaking Spanish, maybe as their primary language, unless 20% of those 40% say they also do not speak English very well, then they wouldn't trigger that. You could have a Spanish speaker who speaks English very well, wouldn't trigger that translation requirement.
Any other questions?
Just one more. On the serial meetings, it also applies to, I mean, it does apply to not just, I talk to Matt, Matt talks to Vong, but it's also, I text Matt, Matt texts Vong.
Absolutely.
Using any kind
communication.
of.
Absolutely.
Okay.
You're right. Yep.
Thanks.
Any other questions? This time we're going to open to the public. Are there any questions of the public regarding what you've heard? Yes, please come up. Yeah. So-
Bill Scott, 341 Evergreen. This is way over my head. And I know I've talked to more than two of you, not at one time, but individually, in both public settings and private settings. And I'm scared to death now that I'm going to get one of you in trouble. If somebody tells me something and then later on I'm talking to someone else and, well, they explained it this way and now you're explaining it this way, and well, that, you know, you're going to have to go to jail for that? So I don't know any of this stuff. You know, it's way over my head. And then the thing you talked about with like Zoom meetings, you know, if I'm at home watching a Zoom meeting and the thing goes blank, is that my fault or is it your fault? Do I call somebody and say, hey, are you still up? Or, you know, how do you determine that my screen went blank? You know, I can just see all kinds of silly things happening with this, and I don't know. I'm just bringing it up because it sounds goofy to me.
Common sense, common sense.
Yeah.
Anything on that you wanted to address, Scott?
It doesn't sound like it's common sense, you know.
Yeah, the service disruption has to be on the city
All right,
side, so we won't know. And if it is on the community side, they can certainly email us, but we're not going to be required if it's just on their end to stop the meeting and do all that. But again, I think Brianna will know if there's some service disruption here from us that is prohibiting the public from seeing what's going on or hearing what's going on. Then I don't recall his first.
It's about the
serial
public
meeting.
polling us. or
Yeah, no,
talking to
and
us.
I think the council, I mean, I think you guys do a good job, even when you're engaging with members of the community, just talking and, you know, providing information or sharing things is not problematic really if he's going around and telling other council members if he's meeting with the majority of you. You're not meeting a majority of you at the same time with Mr. Scott or anyone else. That's why I think it's important for you not to express, hey, this is the way I'm going to vote when that item comes up to Mr. Scott or anyone else, because then that could get around, hey, I talked to Vong and I know Vong's going to vote this way. I hope you would too. And, you know, oh yeah, I'm going to vote that way too. That's where it is. If it's just a discussion about the importance of its subject or whatever it might be, fine. But as long as you're not expressing your opinion on this is the way I'm going to vote or this is what I'm going to decide when that meeting happens, when we're going to talk about that topic.
Any other questions from the public? Please come. Yeah, please come up. We need to record you. And if you could give your name again for the record. You put the mic in front of you.
Oh.
Yeah.
So my name
Thank
is
you.
Crystal, and I just have a question. When Brianna, right, mentioned YouTube, I went on, I'm actually watching on YouTube, the live session, and what yes, delayed, by the way, I can see myself walking up, but it's 20 seconds? Okay, so my confusion is, are you opening the YouTube live for people at home to interact and ask their questions on YouTube Live, or are you sending people to another app like Zoom or whatever is the flavor of that month to interact with the meeting? So that's my confusion. So right now, if I wanted to interact, I was at home, would I be able to open up the YouTube studio to be invited to the conversation via YouTube?
So currently, we are not using any system that is allowing the two-way for members of the community to communicate currently, because that isn't in effect until July. But we are streaming on YouTube for members of the community to view the meeting at home live with a 20-second delay, but they will not be communicating. So I won't be able to hear you, you won't be able to voice your concerns, you're just viewing the meeting through YouTube.
Okay, so in July, how will that change?
We haven't decided yet.
Oh, okay. That answers my question. Thank
But you will know soon.
Okay, thanks.
Like during COVID, when we were operating, I remember Mayor Drew Bessinger had to also ask the public and then ask, does anyone online have any questions of our clerk? And so we did have to add that extra step, and then before we close the public portion. So that allowed people who are online to communicate to us electronically. So we've done that before. We just don't know which technology we're going to use moving forward. And once the staff decides, that'll be something that will be shared with the public so they can communicate with us effectively. Anyone else like to address the council? Okay, seeing none?
Vaughn, I do have a follow-up question for the city attorney.
Okay.
If, I've seen situations in other jurisdictions where people come to the podium or maybe they're speaking online and they refuse to identify themselves and they refuse to give their address. They're not required to, are they?
Absolutely not. That's a great question and a good reminder. We do it as a matter of practice, and I think it's, the mayor and other members of the council like to address people by their name. But if for some reason the member of the public doesn't want to give their name or their address, they're not required to. We can't condition their opportunity to speak as a member of the public on knowing that what their name is or that they are even a Clovis resident. They're not required to be a Clovis resident. So
Because unfortunately, I've seen people refuse to give their name, their address, and stand there and just abuse people. And it's an unfortunate abuse of the democratic process, but people have the right to be stupid, I guess.
Any other questions or comments on this? Okay, this is a receive and file only, so thank you, Scott, for that presentation.
I'll text you right now with my questions.
We'll move now to item 15, and this is the consider approval of the first amendment to the city manager employment agreement. And staff on this is our city attorney again, Scott Cross.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As I mentioned in the previous presentation, this is one of the requirements of the Brown Act. So whenever we're either approving the employment agreement or amending the employment agreement of the city manager, we're required to do it in open session. And the Brown Act requires that we make an oral report, provide an oral report on what that recommendation is. And we have to provide at least an oral report of what the change is going to be, the salary, any benefits, and that sort of thing. So with this proposed First Amendment, before you tonight, there's two changes to Mr. Hausler's employment contract that are being proposed or recommended. One is an advancement from step 1 of the city manager's salary schedule to step 3. The monthly salary, according to step 3, is $24,234 a month. That's what the recommendation is. And then the other change to his employment agreement is last year, when his original agreement was approved, there was a 3-year term. We're now 1 year into that term, and the recommendation is we take the definitive term out and we leave it as what we call an evergreen contract with no definitive end date, but it can still be terminated by either party according to the terms in the agreement. So it's not a forever agreement necessarily. It can still be terminated. It just doesn't have a definitive end date. So open to any questions if there are any.
Any questions or comments from the council? Okay. Anyone in the public like to address the council on this item? Okay, seeing none. Okay, we'll close that. We'll bring it back to the council.
I'll make a motion to approve the First Amendment to the city manager employment agreement.
I'll second.
Okay, motion second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, congratulations, Andy. We'll now move to city manager comments.
Well, I just wanted to wish everyone a happy new year. Welcome to 2026. And we have one event. It is tomorrow night. It's an important one. We get an allocation of federal funding from the Department of Housing and Urban Development from the federal government, and we are doing our 5-year planning of those funds. So there's a meeting in this chamber tomorrow night to give us input on that. With that, I'll turn it back to you, Mayor.
Now we'll move to Council comments, Councilmember Basco. Nothing. Councilmember Bessinger.
Nothing.
Councilmember Ashbeck.
Two things. Crystal's comments on the tenant guidance, I think, would be an important thing to follow up on. So if we could bring that back from a staff report or an agenda item or something to talk about housing advocacy. It was a good call out, Crystal, on the role of the city and making sure people understand what we can do for them and what we can't do. Cities can't do it all. And then I'm going to let Vong, this was your celebration, really, the Hmong event, and so I don't want to take that thunder. So I'll just use my time to say, I know you must have been the lead on putting that together, and it was really a lovely event. And I think you spoke to the things that make Clovis special about unity and things we share and not things that divide us. So for your work in that, thank you. And I'll let you explain more of the event, but I just want to give you kudos right now for your role in that and for gathering all that, all those folks together. It was really an honor to be part of it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And Mayor Pro Tem.
I'll just echo Lynn's comments on that. It was a wonderful event, the Hmong American Friendship recognition, and so thank you for making sure that we were aware of it and personally invited and included, and it really was a great event. And that's all. Happy New Year.
And Happy New Year as well. First, I wanted to report with regards to Measure C. I don't think I reported it. It was after, huh? We already had our last council meeting. Yeah, so we approved the implementation guidelines with the vote of 10-4, and I think speaking on behalf of the City of Clovis, we pretty much had the changes that we wanted with the implementation guidelines. So pretty much all of them were adopted. So it was approved 10-4, and the motion was to bring that to the county Board of Supervisors for them to agendize in, this week and then next week potentially. And so we got word that the Board of Supervisors has not agendized it, and the COG staff is asking for a meeting this coming Wednesday for the COG to give direction to the staff, because the Board of Supervisors have not agendized it. So there will be a meeting this coming Wednesday. Nothing on the plan itself. It's more for direction on what to do next. And so I wanted to just report that out. I went to any questions, first of all? Yeah.
What was the purpose of the Board of Supervisors agendizing it, and why is that necessitating a COG meeting?
Until the Board of Supervisors agendize and votes on the measure, it will not, either yes or no, it can't go on the ballot. And so with it not being on the agenda, it can never be determined if it can or cannot go on the ballot. And so because of timelines, then the staff is asking the COG Policy Board, what does it want to do? And I think one of the directions, I have not heard officially, so we'll get a report on Wednesday, but from what I've heard unofficially is that the Board of Supervisors wants the COG Policy Board to get approval from every individual jurisdiction first, and then bring it to the Board of Supervisors. So go to the 16 cities first, and so that's sort of maybe asking what does the Policy Board do? So that's sort of the direction. Okay.
Just a follow-up.
Yeah.
So the understanding is that perhaps all of the cities in the county would vote first to approve or not approve the implementation guidelines and the proposed measure, and then the board would have the final say on whether or not it was approved to go on the 26th ballot.
Yes. So past practice has gone that way, from what I understand, and Councilman Ashbeck can confirm, but there's no legal requirement it goes that way. That's why the COG Policy Board voted in the motion to have the Board of Supervisors put a thumbs up or thumbs down on it right away, so that way next steps can be determined.
Do you know what any of the other options are? Like, would they pull it entirely from this current process and put it toward signature gathering to try and get it on?
That is also an option for the Policy Board. So the Policy Board, I think, can kind of keep waiting for the Board of Supervisors, go through all the cities, or the third is just say, we're done with it. Yeah, pull it away. There's no way of moving forward, but we do have a plan that 10 to 4 have voted for it. So, anything else, Lynn, with that process? So that's sort of what's going to be presented to us on Wednesday, and so we'll see what happens at that meeting on this Wednesday. So if you want to attend, it is downtown at the COG building, sort of upstairs from the old Club One. Okay, so it's right there.
It's Wednesday night.
It's Wednesday night, so it's not Thursday night. So Wednesday, 5:30. Okay. And then I had the pleasure of going to see the Fresno Air Terminal expansion. And so if you go past TSA now, there's 2 extra gates to the right. So you may be able to, or you may be flying out or coming back in that terminal. So it has new restaurants, everything's new over there, very nice area for our airport. And then I want to thank PD for being at Hmong New Year. A lot of the volunteers and officers were out there all 3 days. And so I appreciate PD going out, recruiting, getting exposure out there. And then the last thing I want to talk about is I want to thank members of the public and also our council. I know Drew wanted to be there as well, but he couldn't. The show of support to be there on January 3rd. Some of the history is that January 3rd, 65 years ago, was sort of the friendship between the Hmong community and America, with the handshake to fight to stop communism overtake of Laos. And so that's sort of how the friendship began. And when Laos fell, then America honored its commitment and brought us over as refugees to America. And we've been here 50 years. And so I really want to give kudos to the veterans organizations in the city of Clovis, because they were the ones who actually saw these. I guess you're not officially veterans if you're fought in the Secret War, but they saw them as equals. And they came out and they stood with the Hmong veterans, who the numbers are dwindling every year, and they gave honor to the Hmong veterans. And the Hmong community really is just appreciative of this nation, of this community, and what it has given, not just to our parents, but to all the children and then to future generations. That this is probably the best spot any refugee could land, and it was America. And it was just a celebration of that friendship, and the council being there, with Clovis Unified being there, and with our Veterans Memorial District. It was just a symbolic day showing it. Clovis is open and always supportive of anyone who's willing to work together and work hard. And that's what our position was. And so to see all of us there was just remarkable from the community, and a lot of the community thanks our council here, past councils. And I want to just also say that I think Councilmember Basco really started the effort in PD, because I think PD gives the reputation of, okay, you're accepting or not accepting, that's who people do. And he was the first one to really go out and hire Hmong officers and to reach out to the community and to continue that, and Chief Basco has continued that as well. And so we appreciate members of the council and the staff at that time to reach out and show that, hey, we accept anyone and everyone who's willing to just work hard and work together. And so that's sort of the message of the American spirit of just friendship. And it was, I appreciate also Andy and the staff. If it didn't rain, PD was gonna have some vehicles out, transit was gonna have, so that way it would just show that here it is, here's the city, and show our officers, show our staff, and show that, hey, we participate and we're there, but because of the rain, we couldn't do that. And it was just a very nice community event. So I just want to thank everybody and the community and especially our staff for being there to show support. So I want to report that. Oh, yes, and I have one more thing. Okay. This is going to be for the city. I don't think it was for me. This is for the city on behalf of the Hmong community. And so I'm going to turn it over to Andy. And so this is a Hmong instrument, very, very big in a lot of cultural practices. So they gave this in honor of the agencies that work together, Clovis Unified, CVMD, and then us, and just working together. So I'm just wanted to show all of you, this is all of us together, all the council, all the staff, and I'm going to hand it over to Andy so that way he can figure out a place for it. So. Okay, so that's all I have. Thank you very much. We're now going to move into closed session, and we have one item. It's conference with labor negotiators. Is anyone here like to have any comments on this before we move into closed session and adjourn the meeting? Okay, seeing none. Scott, do we anticipate anything to report out?
We're not requesting action, so there will be no action to report.
Okay, so we are adjourned to go into closed session at 7:51 p.m. Thank you, everybody, for being here tonight.